Imagine this. Your family is having a huge fight about money. Your dad wants a new car. Your mom wants to pay your tuition. The argument gets so intense that the bank freezes your family's credit cards. Electricity and water get cut off. Netflix doesn't load. The fridge is empty. At that moment, your house turns into a war zone. Everyone's furious. Now, scale that up to a whole country. The House is the United States. The parents are the Democrats and Republicans. And that frozen credit card? That's the federal budget. Welcome to the government shutdown, America's version of hitting the power button on itself. And today, we're diving into the latest shutdown that kicked off on October 1st, 2025. A U.S. government shutdown happens when Congress can't agree on a budget or a temporary funding bill. The fiscal year starts every October 1st and ends September 30th of the next year. If the new budget isn't ready by then, federal agencies that aren't considered essential must close their doors. Federal workers either go on unpaid leave or keep working without a paycheck. Meanwhile, critical services like the military, air traffic control, and national security still keep running. So why did this year's shutdown happen? Simple. Congress failed to agree on how to spend money. Democrats wanted to link the new budget to health care subsidies. Republicans said, no way, health care shouldn't be part of the spending package. They also fought over how much to spend overall, how much to give in foreign aid, and how much should stay in the U.S. That political tug-of-war was so bitter that neither side could pass a proper budget or a temporary fix. So when the old budget expired on September 30th, 2025, the government officially shut down at 12:01 a.m. October 1st, 2025. Result? About 800,000 federal workers were furloughed. Another 700,000 had to keep working unpaid. The whole thing became a symbol of how deep the political divide has grown in America. When Washington goes dark, a two-tier system kicks in. Group 1, essential workers. These are the people keeping the country safe. Air traffic controllers, FBI agents, soldiers, border patrol, prison guards. They're legally required to keep working, but they don't get paid until the shutdown ends. It's like being the hero who saves the world, but your landlord still knocks for rent money. Group 2, non-essential workers. And no, non-essential doesn't mean useless. It just means their jobs aren't immediately tied to life or death. They're put on furlough, a fancy way to say unpaid leave. They can't even check work emails. In this 2025 shutdown, between 750,000 and 850,000 people suddenly found themselves jobless overnight, not knowing when or if they'd be back. Here's the irony. The government exists to keep society running, but in moments like this, it can't even fulfill its most basic duty, paying its own workers. So let's zoom in on October 1st, 2025, the day the lights went out. At that time, Donald Trump was president again. His Republican Party controlled both the House and the Senate. In theory, that means they could pass almost any bill they wanted. But in the Senate, they still needed a few Democratic votes to overcome a procedure called a filibuster, basically a tool to delay or block legislation. That gave Democrats real leverage. The Republicans' budget proposal was called the One Big Beautiful Act. Yeah, that's the actual name. Sounds nice, right? Well, here's what it actually did. Massive tax cuts on tips, overtime pay, and car loan interest. To pay for those cuts, it took money away from Medicaid, the health program for low-income Americans, specifically a 12% reduction. And it tightened food stamp requirements, making it harder for poor families to get help. Democrats hated it, especially the health care cuts. They said, we're not giving you a penny if you're cutting off basic health care for the poor. Republicans said, nope, we're not backing down. And then the blame game began. Trump's Republicans said Democrats were sabotaging the government and holding it hostage. Democrats fired back, saying Republicans just wanted to rob the poor and reward the rich. And just like that, boom, chaos. Things got ugly. The Republican-led government updated federal websites with anti-Democrat messages. Even out-of-office auto-reply emails became political statements. And then Trump took it up a notch. He posted AI deepfake videos mocking Democratic leaders. Yes, actual deepfakes, created just to make them look foolish. What started as a policy fight turned into a digital war zone. But behind the noise, Trump had a strategy. He used the shutdown as a political purge. He slashed funding for Democratic projects, things like green energy and infrastructure. The shutdown became less about budgets and more about power. Meanwhile, everyday people were paying the price. Hundreds of thousands of government workers faced financial uncertainty. Tourism plummeted, the Grand Canyon closed, national parks and museums shut down, trash piled up everywhere. Estimated losses? $1 billion per week. Airlines, public health care, food programs, housing, courts, all in chaos. Immigration enforcement, though? Still running, because that's essential. Military families? Still serving, but paychecks delayed. Federal agents and Border Patrol? Working without pay. So yeah, the rich were playing political chess, using the lives and paychecks of their own citizens as pawns. Economists estimate the 2025 shutdown cost the U.S. between $7 and $15 billion per week. The Congressional Budget Office said it shaved off 0.1 to 0.2% of quarterly GDP growth each week it dragged on. For comparison, the 2018-2019 shutdown caused $3 billion in permanent losses. And here's the kicker. By law, all federal workers eventually get back pay, so taxpayers still pay even for people who couldn't work. That's about $400 million a day just in salaries for furloughed employees. Meanwhile, Wall Street was partying. The S&P 500, Dow Jones, and NASDAQ all hit record highs because investors knew the pattern. Shutdowns are political theater, not true economic meltdowns. Government spending slows temporarily, but the money eventually comes back. No bad economic reports? Stocks rise. Possible Fed rate cuts? Stocks rise higher. So while regular people struggled to pay rent, the rich were literally popping champagne.
Dow Jones
and
closed
crypto,
at a record high
even
today.
wilder. Bitcoin skyrocketed near $124,000. Ethereum and Solana followed. Why? Because people lost faith in government. The U.S. government can shut down, but Bitcoin never sleeps. Plus, with the SEC and regulators slowed down, crypto markets got a short-term boost. For crypto investors, Washington's chaos was a celebration. The shutdown didn't just hit home. It sent shockwaves worldwide. Europe's GDP risked losing 4 billion euros if the shutdown lasted 2 weeks. International tourism to the U.S. dropped, and America's global reputation as a reliable leader took a major hit. Because really, how can you lead the world when your own government can't even pay its bills? Credit agencies like Moody's had already downgraded the U.S. earlier in 2025, citing political dysfunction. This shutdown just confirmed it. The message was clear. America is losing its grip on competent governance. This isn't new. The 2025 shutdown is just the latest episode in a long-running political soap opera. 2018-2019, Trump's border wall showdown. He demanded $5.7 billion. Democrats said no. The government shut down for 35 days. 800,000 workers unpaid. Airports chaotic. Parks overflowing with trash. Economic losses? $11 billion, with $3 billion gone forever. In the end, Trump gave up, reopened the government, got no dollars for his wall. 2013, the Obamacare fight. Republicans tried to kill the law. Shutdown lasted 16 days. 850,000 workers furloughed. National parks closed, medical trials paused, small business loans delayed. Billions lost. Public outrage forced Congress to compromise. 1995 to 1996, the legendary Clinton versus Gingrich showdown. The Republican-led Congress battled over Medicare, education, and the environment. 2 shutdowns, 5 days and 21 days. Initially, Republicans thought Clinton would cave, but the public turned against them. Clinton came out on top and won re-election in 1996. Every time, it's the same cycle. One side holds the budget hostage, the other refuses to back down. The result? Chaos, lost billions, and eventually a forced truce. The politicians go home. The damage stays. So the real question is, how long can a country keep arguing with itself